They say betrayal always comes from those closest to you. I used to roll my eyes at that. I thought the real danger came from the outside. Strangers, enemies, life itself. I never imagined it would come from my own blood, from someone I once called my best friend and my girlfriend. But life has a twisted sense of irony. And sometimes, the people who hug you the tightest are the ones who hold the knife behind your back. My name's Daniel. I'm 28 years old. And this is the story of how I lost two of the most important people in my life, not to death, but to something worse, to betrayal. I met Emily when I was 23. It was one of those cliché moments. She spilled her coffee on me in a bookstore. I laughed. She apologized a dozen times. And by the end of the encounter, I had a soaked shirt and her number. She was bright, quick, confident in a quiet way. She had this laugh that made you want to keep talking, just to hear it again. Our first date lasted 5 hours. We talked about everything: dreams, childhoods, regrets, stupid fears. She said she was afraid of growing old alone. I said I was afraid of becoming my father. We both laughed at the irony. Things move fast. Too fast, maybe. But when it feels right, you don't question it. In a year, she moved in. In 2, we talked about marriage. She met my family. And that's where he comes in. Ethan, my older brother. 2 years my senior. Always the louder one, the charming one, the one who never had to try too hard. He was the golden child growing up. The one teachers loved, girls chased, and parents forgave. We'd always had a strange relationship, part sibling, part rivalry, part something more complicated. But as adults, we got along, or at least, I thought we did. When Emily met him, I remember thinking how easily they clicked. Ethan could make anyone laugh. And Emily, well, she always said she admired confidence. They joked a lot. Too much, sometimes. But I didn't think anything of it. I mean, this was my brother. My blood. And she was the woman I loved. The woman who told me she wanted a future with me. What could go wrong? It started with little things. Missed calls. Text replies that took longer. Her mood shifting in ways I couldn't quite explain. I chalked it up to stress. She just started a new job. Then came the nights she worked late. The weekends she was suddenly too tired for date night. The subtle distance. Like she was always somewhere else. I asked her once, "Are we okay?" She smiled. That small, polite kind of smile you give to strangers. "Of course," she said. But her eyes said something different. And then there was Ethan. He dropped by more often. Sometimes unannounced. Always with some excuse. Picking something up. Checking in. Wanting to talk. But the conversations grew shorter. Tighter. He stopped looking me in the eye. One night, I found him in the kitchen. Emily was laughing at something he said. That kind of laugh she used to save for me. He looked at her like I wasn't even in the room. I felt a flicker then. Not jealousy. Something deeper. Instinct. But I pushed it down. Because who accuses their brother and their girlfriend of something like that without proof? Weeks passed. Things felt more off. One night, Emily left her phone on the counter while showering. A message popped up. It wasn't from Ethan. It was a random number. But the message? "I miss you already. Last night was incredible." My stomach dropped. I picked up the phone. There were no saved conversations. Just that single message. When she came out, I asked her, calmly, "Who's that?" She looked at the screen. Paused. "Oh," she said too quickly. "Just someone from work. It's nothing. They're weird." But her tone was tight. Her eyes darted too fast. Her hands moved too slow. She kissed my cheek, said she was tired, and went to bed. I sat there in the kitchen for a long time, holding that phone in my hand, like it might burn me. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't sleep the next one either. I started noticing things. Her perfume lingering after she left. New clothes she didn't mention buying. A pair of earrings I'd never seen before. Ethan stopped coming around. I told myself that was a good thing. But it didn't feel like relief. It felt like silence before a storm. Then came the day that shattered everything. I'd come home early from work. Car trouble had cut the day short. Emily wasn't home. But her purse was. Her phone. Her coat. The shower was running. I walked toward the bedroom. And that's when I heard it. Voices. 2 of them. Low, muffled, but distinct. My heart pounded. I stood frozen for a second. Then I opened the door, and my world split in half. They were in bed. My brother, my girlfriend, half naked, startled, guilty. No one spoke. For a moment, it was dead silent, like the room itself was holding its breath. Then Emily whispered, "Dan, wait, I can explain." But I was already backing away, already choking on air, already leaving. That image of them, tangled together, in the bed I bought, in the apartment we shared, it's burned into my mind. Forever. I didn't scream, didn't throw things. I just walked. For hours. Until my legs gave out. Until the numbness became pain. Until I couldn't breathe. And that was the beginning of the end. The end of love. The end of trust. The end of who I used to be. I didn't go home that night. I wandered until the sky turned orange and the city went quiet. My phone buzzed more times than I could count. Calls. Messages. Her name. His name. My mother's name. I turned it off. Silence was better. Cleaner. Because in silence, I didn't have to lie to myself anymore. I ended up at an old motel off the highway. The kind with flickering signs and a front desk that doesn't ask questions. I lay on the stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling, still hearing her voice. "Dan, wait, I can explain." But I didn't want an explanation. I wanted my life back. The next day, I called in sick. Then I called in again. And again. Eventually, I just stopped calling. Work didn't matter. Nothing did. People say heartbreak feels like being stabbed. No. It feels like drowning while everyone else walks on dry land. Like screaming in a language no one understands. I stopped eating. Stopped shaving. Stopped replying to friends. Even Ryan, who came to my door twice, knocking softly, didn't get an answer. I just sat, in silence, wearing the same clothes, living in yesterday. 3 days later, I finally went back. Not because I wanted to see her, but because I needed to see me, the version of myself I left behind. I opened the door to our apartment. It smelled like a shampoo, like vanilla and betrayal. The place looked untouched, like the betrayal hadn't even left a dent. But I had. She was there, on the couch, crying. When she saw me, she stood too fast. "Dan, please, can we talk?" I stared at her for a long time. She looked small, pale, nothing like the woman I fell in love with. But I nodded, because if I didn't hear it from her lips, I'd go insane making up my own versions. She sat. I stood. "I never meant to hurt you," she started. I almost laughed. Almost. "How long?" I asked. She blinked. "What? How long were you sleeping with my brother?" She winced, like I'd slapped her. "A few months." That was worse than I expected. Not a one-time mistake. Not a moment of weakness. A pattern. A habit. A secret life. "Why?" I asked. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I don't know." "You don't know." "I was lonely," she whispered. "You were always working. Ethan, he was just there. And it happened. I didn't plan it." I clenched my fists. "You didn't plan it." I echoed. "So what was it? A game. Something to pass the time while I was paying rent and planning a future." She sobbed harder. "I didn't love him." My throat tightened. "But you slept with him." She looked at me like a child caught stealing. I was going to stop. I shook my head. "You already did." I left. Took nothing but my phone and wallet. I drove to my parents' house. When my mother opened the door, she looked like she'd aged 10 years. She didn't ask questions. Just hugged me. Tight. Long. Like she knew. Later that night, my dad walked into my old room and sat at the edge of the bed. He didn't say much. Just this. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. And for the first time, I cried in front of him. He didn't stop me. A week passed. I heard nothing from Ethan. Nothing. Not a call. Not a text. Not even an excuse. I think that hurt more than the act itself. Because silence from someone you grew up with, it's a kind of death. Eventually, I got a message. From an unknown number. It was him. "I'm sorry." That's it. No explanation. No attempt to fix it. Just 2 words. Two worthless, hollow, pathetic words. I didn't reply, because there's no apology that can fix that level of betrayal. No sorry that rewinds time. I moved my things out of the apartment a few days later. Emily wasn't there. Good. I didn't want another crying scene. Didn't want to see her wearing guilt like it was bravery. But as I was packing, I found something. A photo of us. Me, her, and Ethan. From last Christmas. She was in the middle, holding our dog. I was smiling. Ethan was looking at her. And now I saw it. The look. That quiet, possessive, hungry look. How had I missed it? Because when you love people, you don't look for betrayal. You don't imagine the people you trust most are capable of destroying you. That night, I burned the photo. Watched the flames eat it inch by inch, until it was nothing but ash. And something inside me shifted. A weight lifted. Not because I was healed, but because I'd finally let go of the lie. I started going to the gym again. Started eating. Started talking. Not much. Not fast. But enough. People asked where Emily was. Where Ethan was. I just said, gone. That was enough. But deep down, a question haunted me. How do you move on when your whole world was built on lies? I didn't have the answer, but I knew I had to try. You don't come back the same after betrayal. You either rebuild, or you burn. I chose both. Months passed. The pain didn't vanish. It just stopped screaming. I got a new job. Moved to a new part of the city. Started training harder. Lifting heavier. Not just weights, but the weight of memory. But some nights I'd still dream of that moment. Of them in my bed. Of her whispering my name, like it meant nothing. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, fists clenched, heart racing. And that's when I realized forgiveness wasn't coming. Not from me. Some wounds don't heal. Some are meant to scar. One afternoon, while walking through the park, I saw them, Emily and Ethan, holding hands, laughing, looking like nothing had happened, like they hadn't destroyed something sacred, like I had never existed. And that's when something inside me snapped. Not rage, not violence, but clarity. If they could move on so easily, maybe it was time I reminded them who they had betrayed. I started small. I knew Ethan's company was hosting a fundraiser. His reputation was everything to him, the clean-cut, all-American golden boy. I created an anonymous account. Leaked private photos, screenshots, the kind of things that made people whisper. Nothing illegal, nothing false, just truth, laid bare. Then Emily. I knew she'd started her own small business, baking, custom orders. Cute, wholesome, until I wrote a detailed review. Not fake, just honest. I described what it felt like to trust someone who'd hold your heart in one hand and your brother in the other. The post went viral, got picked up by a relationship blog, shared across forums. Suddenly, she wasn't the sweet girl next door baker. She was the cheater from that post everyone hated. I watched her crumble from afar, quietly. But it wasn't enough, because revenge doesn't fix the hole they left in you. So I stopped, cut the strings, deleted the burner accounts, blocked both of them, for good. Months turned into a year. I met someone. Her name was Claire. We met at a bookstore. Poetic, I know. She didn't ask much at first. Didn't push. She just existed. Softly. I told her everything one rainy night, the whole story. She didn't judge me. Just said, "You didn't deserve that." Simple. Honest. Healing. One night I got a call. Unknown number. I answered by instinct. Dan. It was Ethan. His voice cracked. He sounded tired. Emily left. I said nothing. She cheated. With someone at her work. I still said nothing. Then he said, "I get it now. What I did to you." There was silence. Then, "I'm sorry. For everything." And for the first time, I believed him. Because betrayal is a cycle. And eventually, it finds everyone. I didn't gloat. Didn't mock. I just said, "I hope you never feel what I felt. But now you do." And I hung up. Closure isn't fireworks. It's not revenge. It's a quiet door closing behind you while you walk away. Claire and I moved in together 6 months later. We laugh. We argue. We heal. Every day, I choose honesty. Because I know what lies cost. Sometimes, I still think of Emily. Not with rage. Just sadness. Because what we had could have been real. But she let it rot. And Ethan. He chose ego over brotherhood. I grieve them like a death. Because in my heart, they are gone. But I survived. And that's my victory. The end.